What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal and crypto link in the info box below this video. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by The Plain Truth, Sleeping Warrior, Ranty Flat Earth, Chocolate Saiyan, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Yo.
Hello, what?
Good day.
Good afternoon.
Good evening and hello, one and all. Any signs of curvature?
No.
Absolutely. Oh, no. Does that include flatness?
No, or obstruction at the horizon claimed to be curvature.
How about
It's just that I found a really, really cool video that's basically the same distance as Soundly's, and it's flat as a pancake. So I'm just wondering whether we could squeeze a flatness in rather than a curve. If not, we'll wait till the end. If so, we'll do it now.
No, wait till the end. Any signs of curvature? Anybody else?
how about R-based imagining?
No, we'll get to that too in the housekeeping. Any signs of curvature? Earth
No.
curvature?
Apparently, this guy in the chat, Ron Burgundy, this chat troll apparently has curvature somewhere that he can.
Burke. He doesn't know what day of the week it is, let alone curve.
Yeah, because this guy wants to talk about he doesn't come on the panel because it's full of imbeciles. Well, come on the panel, guy. I mean, you want to call people out in the chat? Come on the panel.
Nah. If his voice is anything like the way he types. Damn, dude.
I mean, you could be a keyboard warrior all you want. That's cool, but find some damn curvature.
Yeah, Ron Burgundy fancies.
And please show me that. Show me some curvature, and I'll be a baller. I said that in the chat. So I'll be waiting for that. I won't hold my breath, but I'll be waiting.
Well, while he's at it,
Anyway.
hopefully he'll have some signs of axial rotation. Anybody on the panel with any evidence of axial rotation, specifically of the Earth-based variety, just for you, Ranty?
No.
Oh, stationary. It's all stationary.
Okay, what about all those space believers out there? Is there any evidence that we can maintain the gas pressure that we have on Earth without a container?
Only in maths.
Well, as long as there's not really a vacuum out there, yeah, maybe there is a universe out there filled with gas pressure that's slightly lower. But still, just as valid an argument as anything, because we don't know what's out there.
A few words from our
It's
foreign
not going to be a
correspondent.
vacuum.
Jimbo says no rotation. Thank you, Jimbo. No evidence you can have a gas pressure without a container.
Nope.
Nope.
What about a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? Any evidence of that?
Nathan, why do you keep asking? There's no evidence that molten iron can create its own self-perpetuating charge. They can only do it with sodium. I accept that sodium can do it. There's no evidence that iron can do it. So until somebody comes up with some evidence that iron can do it, you can't have your rotating, self-perpetuating molten iron core, morons.
That's nice, but it's not the question. It's not even in question if it's supposed to cause magnetics or not, just if it's there.
Well, let's see evidence that it's even potentially there.
Right, evidence of the distance to the sun.
There is no distance to the sun, Nathan.
Any scientific evidence of gravity? Anybody at all on the panel?
Definitely no evidence of gravity either.
Lots of
I mean, if you
aberrations.
think about it, right, what they claim is the weakest of the forces, which is supposed to be gravity, right? If you think about the tangential speed of the circumference of the Earth as we're spinning, yes, it's only 1 revolution per day, but at the rim, at the circumference where we're at, it's still 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, right? That force, that rotational speed, that's going to have more of a centrifugal force than the claim of gravity. But we're still supposed to have gravity? I don't think so.
Only if you back that question.
Nonsense. It's full of shite, this nonsense argument.
Speaking of begging the question, any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
No.
It exists in math.
Are we done?
That's it, yeah.
Just to let you know, I've put a link in that. You know that guy, he wears eyeliner and face blusher and lipstick and shit like that. No, not Sean Hufford. The guy called Heath. Hiith. I've put the link for this hangout in his chat on his most recent video, because basically there's a load of stupid idiots telling me things like gravity to explain the atmospheric pressure and stuff. So I've challenged them all to come and join us. So if we get newbies joining from Heath's channel, then just be aware that they might not actually be trolls.
So embarrassing that they keep saying this. They don't get their own model. It can't work. It's so ridiculous.
Well, that's what they believe.
I'm so embarrassed even for in sense of presuppositional thinking. You know? Because, yeah, you can do presuppositional thinking. But does it mean that then you can just completely make up shit out of nothing that just can't work? It's ridiculous.
Nathan, share my screen, sir.
What am I sharing?
This
What you
is an
mentioned earlier.
observation.
Yeah, no worries.
This is an observation done by a channel that I'm not familiar with. So make sure you go and like, comment, and subscribe to this guy's channel, because this is really, really pertinent, because it relates directly to Soundly. If you believe that Soundly shows curvature of the Earth, then how are you going to explain this? This guy is looking across a bay. What I'll do, I'll just play it without the sound. And what he's got is he's doing what I thought it was Taboo Conspiracy initially, because Taboo does this kind of stuff. But I got to it through Taboo Conspiracy. So what he's showing is he's showing how far away he is from shore to shore. And it turns out, I can't remember the mileage. I think it's 16 miles or 14 miles. And basically he needs more exposure because this is glorious. Basically the results are all in the first couple of seconds. And he says here, this was done for the express purpose of showing an awesome flat Earth observation in the most artistic and aesthetically pleasing way, for why it's not in chronological order.
I like him already.
The results first. And what he's doing is he's basically 5 feet above the water waves, right? And what he's looking at there with his P1000 is that rectangular mirror on the other side of the water. Now, he'll show his Google distance on Google Maps in a sec. And I think it was 16 miles, or it might have been 14 miles. But basically, this pushes beyond the 8 miles of Taboo Conspiracy with a mirror to 14 miles with a mirror. So when he puts this thing in here, hopefully you'll see. Oh, there's the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective denying nonsense calculator. And basically, there's supposed to be a wall of water in between these two people. They shouldn't be able to see each other. But the point is they can. Now, they can't have eyeballs on them because it's all out of, even with the P1000, it's out of zoom. It's not easy to see. But hopefully I'll get to this part where they show. I think I might have missed it. It might have been right at the beginning. Here it is. So basically, that light is being shone over 14 miles. There you go, 13.23 miles. So if you believe that Soundly shows the curvature of the Earth over 16 miles, well, that's beach to beach at 13.7, I think it said. So how's that explained? Flat, right? You can't see it with your naked eye, or with zoom, it's all distorted because of like atmospherics or whatever, but it can be seen from 14 miles away, shore to shore. So I'm looking forward to how they're going to bury the head in the sand with this one. But make sure you go to the channel. So let's plug this guy's channel. Flat Reality Earth Explorers. And there's 23 up likes on it. So what I'll do is I'll put a link in the side window. If Nathan presents it for everybody, that'd be grand. So We're all good with that one. How are you going to explain that, morons? Beach to
Excellent.
beach, over 14 miles. Beach to beach.
Awesome.
So there's the link. Nathan should copy it into the main chat now. So basically, right, 14 miles, beach to beach. So if Soundly's showing the curvature of the Earth and he's only at 16 miles, we're going to need an explanation for why that extra 2 miles makes all the difference. Come on, morons. Who's going to explain that?
Who just joined? Was it physics?
It's me, Nathan. Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Physics, what's up, man?
Hey, chocolate.
I know Nathan keeps on saying physics, but it's psychics. Learn how to freaking read.
You're
My bad.
both right.
Dyslexia gets the better of me, Arwin.
No, it's for
Highly
dyslexic.
embarrassing for me,
Failed it.
actually. I feel ashamed.
I think it's physics, isn't it?
No.
Nathan,
PSYXIX.
Well, let's ask the guy that owns the
Psy
handle.
six.
Let's ask the guy, Arwin. So what is it, physics? Is it physics or something else?
Good question, Riley. They're chain letters. They're meant to be broken. So Arwin's correct, and so is Nathan.
So if Nathan's correct, then Arwin, doesn't that mean something?
Well, no, Arwin is also correct too, and so is Nathan. You can break the letters, the chain letters. You can call me Psi 666. Physics, psychics.
You mean Psy 19
That's right.
or
think about
Psy 2019?
Can we
Or
not just call
PS
Arwin wrong?
Wait, is it PS 2019?
Can we not just call Arwin wrong?
Huh.
I much
Was
prefer
that,
that one.
was that a Roman numerals gag?
I think so.
It's also numerals as well. So I mean, the letters itself is supposed to be broken. It's whatever represents what you think it is, and then acknowledge it. That's all.
If you read it literally, it says Psy 6.
Yeah, well, like you say what you see, eh? So you see psychics, I see physics.
That's right. Correct.
Psychics, Psy 6.
So if you say what you see, that means any obstruction's curvature, right?
No,
Shout
I don't see
Shout out.
curvature.
out to Tim Osman.
But it's not say what you see, because you don't see anything curving. So no.
I know, but Tim thinks that there's obstruction at the horizon, and that's the curve of the Earth, even though it's like reflecting off the buildings above it, and that can't happen if you live on a ball.
All right, well, believe what you like. I don't care.
So, has anybody got anything interesting in the world of balliness?
I'm going up the mountain again today.
Which one's that?
Well, I'll say it's a mountain. It's the one I've been going up, 700 foot. Tall.
Which one?
You tell me you don't know.
Oh, I can't remember the name of it. It's got a really weird name. Nicky Nook.
That's the one.
Nookie Nook.
Nicky Nook.
Nicky Nook.
Yeah,
Sounds
I'm going
like
to head
a-
up there again.
Sounds like a chav chick that you're taking on a date for a, cheap ride. Nicky Nook.
So you're going for a bit of Nicky Nook today, then, are you? Ryan?
That's it?
I
You're
am.
going for a bit of Nicky Nook.
Nookie.
So you're going
No,
back
the
up Nicky
weather's,
Nook.
the weather's really good today. The
really?
clarity of the weather's really clear.
Absolutely pouring down here. Absolutely
Is it?
pouring. Yeah, it's as soggy as all hell. That's why I've got the show later. I would have been walking to Spanish after this, but no, I'm just going to do the show as normal. Because
It's
just
bloody
too wet.
windy though. I mean, I was down on the promenade today, and yeah, I mean the wind down there must be 20, gusting at 20, 25. So I don't know what it's going to be like at the top of Nicky Nook. But it's worth having a go because the weather is so clear.
So what is it you're trying to achieve? Getting that lighthouse?
Well, before, sorry to keep things chronological, before you tell us what you're trying to achieve future tense, yesterday, I don't know if you noticed the show title, Ranty, but we were explaining that there's a deadline given to us initially by Rumpus himself for production of the Begging the Question Proof of Nothing perspective hijacking calculation on the Isle of Man North End second observation from the beach by Anthony. Also, there is an outstanding claim by Sean Hufford that Anthony was clearly being listening to a Soundly hangout, if I could get the words in order, as opposed to the truth of the recording and what it shows, which is GeoStreamer being fed by Soundly. So you've got Sean Hufford and Rumpus. But I was hoping yesterday to actually strap onto that deadline Slice Arcane on account of the fact that he's basically completely ignored your challenge. So I watched his video, I'm sure you did too, because I wanted to see if he actually addressed what you put, other than ignoring the fact that it was an 80-mile plus observation and claiming that we were lying about that, which I thought was quite amusing. He just strawman the hell out of you and didn't address what you actually put out. Now, it's been backed up again by another claim by Sandra, which is even further, still 80 plus miles, but with the same piece of land that was completely ignored by Slice Arcane. So to keep it chronological, I'm hoping that first you'll reiterate your challenge to Sly in regards to that specific observation, and then we can move on to Anthony detailing again Sean Hufford and the Rumpus, and then if you can tell us after that what you're going to be doing in future, because there might be someone else to challenge.
Ooh, there's quite a lot there to go through, isn't there, Nath?
Well, just for you, all I'm saying is if you can reiterate your challenge originally to Sly, which has been ignored.
The challenge basically is, how do we see that other mountain range that's in the evidence that was showed on the debates, what, about a week ago? It conveniently ignores the most important part and doesn't address it at all, like you say. So he needs to get to explaining why we see it.
The thing that we're explaining is the simple observation of Kronk. I can't pronounce it. You'll have to say it for me.
Oh, I can't say it either.
Call it Kronk.
Kronk Niladar or something it's called.
Right.
Kronkila, something like that, isn't it? I'm sure it was named by a Scouser.
Okay, well, that particular hill, which was completely ignored by Sly, is what... I'm trying to egg you on to do it, Ranty, if I'm honest. I'm struggling.
Oh, I'm trying to find the image so that I can bring it up. Give me a couple of minutes to find it.
No worries. Well, while you're doing that, because it will be much quicker and hopefully you'll find it by the time Anthony's done, can you reiterate, first of all, your observation that the Rumpus has got a deadline on, Anthony?
Right, so back at the beginning of the Isle of Man debate, I was challenged to go and get the same observation from the ground of the floaty land. Obviously, observer height is paramountly important if we live on a sphere. Turns out that lying on my belly on the beach, I was able to repeat the same observation, but it was all squashed. And as Rumpus admits, I didn't identify this land. I had to go backwards over it to make myself familiar with it because it was looking very squashed. That doesn't happen on a ball. But the point was, I was able to repeat the observation, lay on my belly on the beach. Rumpus promised that he would explain this with some kind of ray tracing software that would explain this, plus the effects of a mirage, a superior mirage. And that was months and months and months ago, and I've already got it modelled out and ready for the rebuttal. But I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. He's promised that he's got a week on it. He'll have it within the week because he's had a cold, apparently. Once lasted like 7-8 months. He's here every day battling, but this cold only seems to affect him on this one particular argument. But point is, he's promised and promised and promised, and we're still waiting for it. And the minute he's got it, I've got the explanation already explained. On a flat plane, it's blatantly obvious. You can't have a reflection if we live on a ball of the thing that's above it, because the thing that should be obstructing it is the curvature of the Earth. How are you going to get a reflection of the thing above it below? Because that's got to follow the curve of the Earth. So you've got to have some kind of special, quite crazy-ass light effects to be able to explain this. And basically, there was nothing special about what I did. I just went back on a reasonably good visibility evening when it was cooler in the day, when it was cooling down, and I could see it. So, like Nathan says, boat. Well, I could see Isle of Man from lay on my belly, and it's a case of, well, you got to explain that, morons, because it should be 700 feet behind the curvature of the Earth, and obviously that needs to be explained away with evidence. Now he's going to try and model it, but he's not going to get away with it. He's a moron.
No, he can model it. That's his last opportunity to beg the question, assume his outcome, and have a radius value all ready to plug in, rather than actually proving the Earth is a sphere. So that's his last opportunity to do so. If you can, I don't know if you're ready, Ranty. If not, we'll move on to Sean Hufford.
Yeah, I've got it. I've got the image up. Just one sec.
Yeah, let's go to Ranty. So brilliant, perfect timing. So while Ranty's bringing that up, so this is Sly Sparkane's been challenged to do this. He's attempted to address it, and in doing so, has actually contradicted the Rumpus and Ruhif, who have claimed superlooming, whereas Sly claimed it was all perfectly well and good, nothing to see here, all normal, which is quite amusing as well.
Yeah, I thought that was funny because he was so if it is super looming, then essentially he's been measuring a mirage.
Well, we'll see what he has to come up with, but this is just Chuckle City with Sly. But nonetheless, we might as well strap him onto this deadline.
When you keep saying strap him on, I get this. You know,
I don't want to hear it
about all kinds.
Let's
of
just see
today.
the imagery. I don't want to hear it.
I've got the whirly thing of death at the minute when I've clicked
Oh,
share
okay.
screen, so
We'll give it a few seconds.
Hopefully it'll pop up.
Your top of the range modern 6-core Intel processor obviously not doing its job properly.
That's correct. Yeah, I blame Anthony.
He picked it, so yeah, it's obviously his fault. Don't blame Intel.
Sorry, I wasn't even listening. What's not happened?
It's all right, Anthony. Don't worry. Right. Well, we've got the whirly thing of death. Sean Hufford, Anthony. What's the dealio there?
Well, aside from the fact that he's a lying sack of shit, he basically claimed that if me and Nathan were able to demonstrate that the sound of the GeoStreamer whisper came from a source that was not mine, i.e. his, then he would absolutely have to find this hangout. And he's apparently been looking through all the hangouts, and he wasn't able to find a hangout. And it's been going on for months now. And again, let's remind people that I am guilty of no crime here. I have not done any wrong. We were supposed to be having a one-to-one hangout. GeoStreamer was being fed by Soundly, who now admits, when faced with the black and white evidence that it was actually him, he has to admit that it was him. However, the claim was that it came through my speakers, and that's complete and utter nonsense. It didn't come through my speakers or my microphone. That was demonstrated adequately with the frequency spectrum analyzer, and that showed that it could only have come from his microphone. And Sean basically has forgotten about this. And basically, Sean's complicit in deceiving people by covering at all costs, including himself, for his mate little GeoStreamer, who was being fed by Soundly. And ultimately, it's not the biggest crime in the world, but we all knew they were doing it, and they can't admit it, and they won't admit it. Yet GeoStreamer, Soundly, and Sean all put the knives out against me, calling me this, that, and the other. Yet when they're banged to rights, they still won't admit it. So intellectual honesty, truth, what's going on, boys and girls? Who's being honest here and who's not?
Right, Ranty, you're up.
Yeah, so this is the two mountain ranges that we're seeing. We're seeing South Barul and we're seeing Kronk Ni Ari La. Now, I didn't just get it, Sandra got it too. And you can see that there are essentially the same image. Obviously, she's in a slightly different location. But this Kronk, whatever it's called, and this is South Barul. So who are we poking? Slice Barkane? Yeah, Slice Barkane. You can't explain this. You can't explain it. Well, and if you decide to go through standard refraction, then you're going to have to produce the evidence for the R value.
So, Ranty, if you're going to poke Slice Barkane, you're going to have to show him exactly where you were.
Okay.
So he knows how far away you were.
Well, not necessarily. He knows. He does know.
82.2 miles away.
Oh, he didn't know that bit. Yeah, he called me a liar for that.
I just thought I'd throw that in. 82.2.
82 miles, Sly.
82
How are you going to explain that?
But over 80 miles. Amazing.
Yeah.
80 miles.
80 miles.
Oh, and whilst you're at it, I'd like you to explain how when we're seeing this amount of hills and this amount of this hill and this amount of this hill, how you can say that just when we see the tippy toppies of them, that would be the tippy toppy because that's 1,804 foot, that's 2,037, that's 1,600 feet. And I'm going to say we're seeing almost shore to shore.
Now, I can guarantee you, if he actually responds to this, he'll answer a completely different question and he won't answer the question that we've asked. He'll misrepresent it like he did with Dell.
Oh, look in chat. Rumpus says it's just refraction.
Look at the height.
Regular refraction condition.
The problem is that they're mathematics. So when they're using these numbers, 1,804 feet, for example, it doesn't account for the fact that it's clearly proportionately relative size smaller than the turbines that are obviously physically smaller than the mountains behind them, but using those whole numbers doesn't account for that relative difference. That would be angular size difference. The whole numbers stay the same regardless of where you are. So that is the trick. That's what their model does. But as you can see, these turbines obviously aren't the same size as the mountains, they're just further away. Very simple perspective. Things don't retain their size as they get further away, but they do if you keep the whole numbers and then claim that the fact that they're getting smaller into the distance is actually them dropping over Earth curve. But no, that only works if you use whole numbers and ignore the relative changes of things as you get further away from them. Shockingly. Perspective. It's real.
Right. Nathan, this is the part where I want control of the screen, if you wouldn't mind, please.
Yeah, no worries.
Are you done, Ranty?
I am, yeah.
Well done. Thank you, Ranty. Thank you, Anthony.
I come across this video from a guy called Tau Ceti Alpha. It's a few months old now, but he's mocking me, and I didn't realise just how important to this conversation this actually is. So what I'll do is I'll just briefly show it because I don't want to run the risk for Nathan. Hide that. So he's calling this perspective, right, with me. And basically in this video, my point is the turbines point that we've just been talking about. And what I'm saying is, as things go further away from you, they appear to get smaller. And he's mocking me with this, right? So he says, remove all breakable objects within a meter of your computer. So basically what I show in my own video here is that as you move somewhat further away, it appears to get smaller. And that's because of perspective. But he's mocking me saying this is flirspective, whatever flirspective is. And the thing is, it's complete and utter nonsense because we can see that when this is moved further away, it's about 2.5 inches in size up to the observer. But it doesn't change its actual size. So it gets smaller. So imagine that these are the turbines. When they get to a certain distance away, they stop shrinking. But the mountains behind them carry on because they've got to get to 80 miles away. So the mountains are going to keep getting smaller, but the turbines have stopped shrinking because they've got to their distance. So you can imagine that the mountains that are at the same distance away as the turbine would be much bigger, but as they get further away, they get smaller and smaller. Now, what he does now, look at this mocking, right? This goes to show how stupid these ball earthers are, because what he's doing is he's trying to show that when I say, even though it's still the same actual size, it gets smaller as a function of distance. And this is what he thinks is the reasonable reaction from a ball.
Oh, God. Troll attack.
Reasonable reaction from a baller because he doesn't understand this. He's mocking me, but it's clear that this guy doesn't understand what's going on because we can demonstrate that a thing will get smaller as a function of distance.
It's called angular size.
Don't get it.
Angular size, directly related to perspective.
Correct.
Ignored in the begging the question proof of nothing. Perspective hijacking curve calculator, because they call that effect dropping over the curve.
Utter morons. They don't understand that things appear to get smaller as a function of distance, and they've got to obfuscate that point. That's why he's laughing at me in his video. He thinks that I'm stupid, yet it's the one thing we've been banging on about for months and months and months because they do get smaller to the observer. Not in real world, but relatively speaking to the observer, from the perspective of the observer, they do get smaller. And you morons think that it's somehow wrong. Well, come on the show and explain how it is that it's wrong. Why is it justified to ridicule me on that point? Because you guys don't understand it.
Just projection. They don't understand.
Yes.
So they're going to
stupid
project
morons.
their stupidity onto you.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. So.
Utes back in your point, although he says Nathan is right, preceding his sentence. If there was a curve, the effect would simply be increased over what is already seen on a flat ocean with waves. So your point being, Anthony, that it's not just getting smaller with distance, which isn't accounted for. It would also get smaller with distance and drop over the curve if we lived on a curve Earth. You'd have to account for both, and it would screw everything that they claim, if they actually included perspective, that is, which they don't.
I've got some footage if you want to see it.
Please.
I took this today. So
Okay.
I'll just share my screen.
Getting trolled.
Get rid of that.
You're up, Ranty.
Right. There we go.
So tell us what this is.
Sorry?
Tell us what it is.
It is Devonshire.call. Here we have the obviously the towers that are situated there. It's essentially a shore-to-shore viewing. This is the sand dune that sits in front of Barrow Furnace. It's actually much nearer. It's about 5 miles nearer than the buildings behind it. And essentially from this distance and this height, there should be 109 feet of hidden. And we're actually seeing into the buildings there. They're the buildings that sit on the estuary in front of Devonshire Dock Hall. Well, in the direct line of sight of it. You see how clear it is, Nath?
Yeah, P900. I mean, this. You've done this observation before from this location, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't look like this from a P900. I mean, Anthony, you've seen these images hundreds of times, and you can't tell me that that's not vastly superior to the P900, because it is. What's this? That's the castle, right?
That's the castle.
Look at the detail on that, Anthony.
No, I do agree. It is better, but
Miles better.
There's the RNLI station, Nath.
Well, let me just say this.
That's in the water.
Hold on, Anthony's defending his camera. Give him a sec.
I still wouldn't spend 1,000 on it unless it was GoFunded me, because it's just too much money. It's just not worth it, even though it is better. So shout out to the people that GoFunded me, because I wouldn't buy a camera that was £1,000 just for flat Earth.
Well, I've got to be honest. Looking at this stuff, it's just so much better.
I do agree, it is better. But if I was to pay for it myself, I wouldn't do it.
I agree.
So shout out to the GoFundMes that allow these things to happen, because we're not all like Greater Sapien. We don't all steal money.
Yeah, values in the eye beholder, I get it. But still, you know, I'm not quantifying it in terms of value. It's just in terms of look at what we can see.
So
these used to be pixels, right?
These buildings should be visible, right?
Well, from my elevation, which is approximately 20 feet, then there should be 109 feet of hidden. So the building that you're looking at now shouldn't be seen. I think the curvature counts are around about 60 foot on that, but that's in the water, that building. Shouldn't see it. Peel Castle, again, you shouldn't see it. It's only 45 feet tall in total, above sea level. So that castle that you've just seen, which was Peel Castle, you shouldn't see it.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, you morons. Do you remember, Nathan, when we were doing all the Isle of Man stuff? By the time, because the Isle of Man stuff was taken in summer, they were all saying things like, "Yeah, go back in winter, Ranty. Go back in winter, Riley." So we go back in winter, and it's just a hand wave dismissal. Just bury their heads in the sand. Well, what do you know? It's the same stuff. It's just better quality. It's just better to see. Well, we could predict that. We knew that was going to be the case, because you get less temperature inversions, right? You get temperature that's not affecting what you see. So that makes it better. But they guys, all them lot, have got to try and push that this is somehow extra refraction. You guys are utterly morons.
Utterly morons. Yeah, I think the clarity is far better.
Oh yeah, it's gone from being smudges to being. Look at the clarity on that chimney. You know,
I agree. It is fantastic. It is.
I just remember seeing one of those effects that Anthony's just described going through the top of the rooftop on this building. But you were talking about 30 or 40 pixels. You know, you're trying to work out what it is because it's not that clear on the P900. This, you could turn it into a postcard.
You could. That's why I've challenged Sandra to go and repeat Stephen Cheatley's observation from Winter Hill, because Sandra's like, she's going to have a go at it, and with that camera, that P1000, I think that she'll get a better image than what Stephen Cheatley did.
No. He did a stacked image with a really good camera. I mean, in terms of its color reproduction and things of that sort of nature, the P900's garbage. I mean, this isn't nice from that point of view. It's what it is in terms of the distance that it makes it amazing. So will it be better than Stephen Cheatley's? Well, no. She'll achieve the distance just as easily, but will it look as good as his superb camera stacked 100 times? No way.
No, but she can do a burst mode and she can get that stacking effect and probably will get better results, I would say. But my point being that we're all realizing that this winter is an absolute godsend to us, because when it was all done over summer, they were all saying things like, "Yeah, go back in winter, Riley, go back in winter." And what do you know? We're doing it over winter, and hey, it's pretty good. It's backfiring, isn't it, guys?
Well, the Earth's still flat. It always was and always will be, obviously, and observably flat.
Indeed. So this is the reason why I'm going. You can see with the clarity of the weather today, it's obviously an exceptional day. So I thought I would make use of it.
You know what you could do with doing, Ranty? Getting somebody that's on the other side with a big mirror, like what them people were doing, and getting them to reflect the light back, because I bet you'd see the light coming back, and that would be on the beach. So shout out to Cat Earth. This is your beach shot, dickhead.
I think the beach shot is when we look at the when we come across here to the
lifeboat place.
Well, there's a lifeboat, yeah, and there's also the lighthouse, which is here. Obviously, we're seeing all of the lighthouse.
So do you remember when Miles Delia Davis was arguing about this wall, and you were saying there's a wall in front of it, Dick? You're not paying attention, and he completely ignored it.
Yeah.
You can now see the wall that's blocking the house out with the chimneys, the way you said it was, and the way that Miles completely ignored it.
Yeah, because they were saying, "How come you're not seeing the house that's next to the lighthouse?"
That was one of my favourite debunkings, because within 24 hours you had somebody's drone footage showing the bank. It was great.
And there's the two chimneys on the house. It's like, yeah.
How many miles away are you, Ranty?
I can give me a second. I'll bring up the.
Because bear in mind that Soundleys is about 18 miles. No, 16 to 17 miles. Soundley's work is. I'm pretty much sure this is going to turn out to be about the same, maybe a little bit more. But obviously they're going to say, "Oh, but you didn't get down to the reach, Ranty. It doesn't
Have
count."
you installed
It all counts.
Google Earth Pro yet, Ranty? Have you got this on Google Earth Pro yet? Because you were struggling to get the 3D renderings, weren't you?
Yeah, they won't let me use the, drop and move around. So.
But you're using the Pro version, right?
Yeah.
Hello.
Reinstall it. There's got to be an issue with the software if it just won't let you do it. Reinstall it.
Stop it, you little worm. So which thing are you wanting me to look for? So if I come across here and I go down to, let's have a look at the station. So we've got the lifeboat station, which is here. So that's 14.95 miles away. Obviously that's in the water. You got Peel Castle, which is here.
So Soundley was 16 miles away. And we're seeing down to is that the one with the moat round it where the lighthouse is?
Yeah.
Right,
no, this is Peel Castle. This is
Well, go to the one with the lighthouse, Ranty.
Okay, well Peel Castle's 14.28 miles away. And it's only 45 feet above sea level in total to the top of that building, and we saw all of it. Here we've got the
lighthouse.
The lighthouse, 13.47.
And what's the elevation of that lighthouse?
Well, you can see.
I know.
It's just behind the sand dune, basically. So it's pretty low.
What does it say on the
height? Its focal height is 69 feet.
69 feet, it says on Google Earth, right?
Is the focal height of it, yeah.
69 feet.
That's not the focal height. What does it actually say on underneath? I can't. It's too small to read.
Yeah, focal height's up to the water level, isn't it?
Focal height is up to the light that's in the tower.
Yeah, but from the water level.
Let me show you if I find the image. It's a little bit further on. So there's the focal height, 69 feet there, where that little flash of light comes through the bulb.
Down to the water, isn't it?
Yeah, 69 feet down to the water. So 69 feet above sea level.
69 feet. And what's the curve calcs begging the question nonsense about? What's that say for the hidden?
1347. Let me just have a looky.
And Nathan, to be honest, if I can petition to allow Rumpus to beg the question for that Kronk mountain from the other day that he got kicked for, I'd like to hear him wriggle his way around that one.
I'm not interested. I'm tired of this. I mean, this is making me cringe right now looking at these numbers. This number doesn't include the fact that it's got smaller into the distance.
I know, but I know you won't kick me.
So yeah, 42.6 feet should be hidden.
42 feet of it. So that's basically 3/4 of it, almost all of it, right?
Yeah, maybe up to there, say.
So where's the curve, guys?
Should be hidden according to a begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculator. This is not what should or should not be hidden. This is a reification fallacy in action by our own side. So this is the trap that flat earthers fall into. You don't need to go to a model to tell you what you should and shouldn't see. We just see it.
Quite fun, though.
Our strongest argument is this. We see that castle because it's there. In the same way as I see a tree because it's there, or a boat because it's there, or a car because it's there. I don't need to explain it. I just see it. There it is, castle. The distance is irrelevant. I see it because the earth is flat, and there it is. Right? Now they, the globe heads, who believe in a fantasy world of sphericity, they compare it to their fantasy model, which isn't the world they live in, and isn't what they can see with their own eyes. They need to compare it to their model. Now, their model excludes perspective. Their model, in fact, hijacks perspective by using these whole feet and inches numbers, which do not change at any distance. So, relatively speaking, if you measure the distance to a turbine that's 400 feet high, and then you measure the distance to a mountain that's 2,000 feet high, and they happen to be at a relative distance change that makes them look the same size, according to their maths, they should be, if they're on a flat plane, relatively the same size in respect to each other. In other words, the turbine should be much, much smaller, even though it's the same height. Because it's further away, it's shrunk with distance. The angular size has got smaller, and those numbers don't account for that. So their model's wrong, it's broken, it doesn't work, it doesn't account for reality, it puts it into a side elevation in order to do this, so that you don't spot it. So when we say things like, what should be seen, or there should be this number of feet missing, it's like, no. There should or shouldn't be anything. That's just what we see, and that's our strongest argument. So when we start using our strongest argument and strapping it on to their reification fallacy by telling our audience what we should or shouldn't see, it's like it continues the brainwashing, tells the audience we should be comparing it to what the globe says we should or shouldn't see, and we simply don't need to do that. It's our strongest argument to just say, well, I just see it, and give no explanation because none is required. And when they start giving an explanation, why are you explaining this? We just see it, right? Well, no, it needs explanation. Why? Why do you need to explain it? Oh, because I believe in a globe. That's the truth of the matter. Because I believe in a world that isn't real. So therefore, I'm going to try and explain this. And why are they explaining it? Well, because it doesn't match. Their world isn't real. Their model doesn't match reality. And as Anthony pointed out to one of the guests the other day, models might be useful for having a comparison to something in a theoretical world, but only when they match the observations. And even then, it doesn't make the model reality. It's still a reification fallacy to assert that it is. And that's what they do continually. We do it too when we say there should be X number of feet missing. Well, no, there shouldn't be. There should be if you compare it to their model and their reification fallacy, and it opens their gates to demand that we do so. And when it's right or wrong, why it's right or wrong within the confines of their model and their structures. And it's nonsense to begin with. It doesn't include perspective. So it's nonsense to say that it should or shouldn't have this amount seen. Sorry to lecture you. It grinds my gears.
I totally agree. But I just want people to realise that the two sides to it have consequences. And if we don't allow the begging the question, then we don't get completion on the point. But you are right. These guys are lying about that begging the question that they want to do because it denies perspective. I mean, if you reduce the size of that lighthouse down to the size that we observe it at, then drop it into the curve, it'll be gone, completely gone. But they'll ignore that because they don't want that to be true. La, 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 la. Doesn't make it true, though, does it? So that you're right. And I'm not criticizing, and I'm just saying to the audience, for the benefit of the audience, that, yeah, it's got consequences if we don't allow them to do it. But as long as we're clear with them for both reasons why, which way it goes, then I don't really see any problem either way.
Well, I just want to show you these houses here as well. So 17.7 miles away. So in front of Devonshire Dock Hall, which is this line of buildings here, we have the houses that we see in the imagery. As you can see, you can make out these are houses. They're right by the waterside. So when I show you back on the footage, I'll take you back through. So there we go. Here's all these houses, all situated residential houses from 17.7 miles away.
What was the distance that Soundly claims to observe actual curve at?
16.
Oh, right. That's interesting that this is further. Thanks, Ranty.
Yeah.
Nice little check, that one.
That's why I always remind people of Soundly, because people think that Soundly shows curve of the Earth, but they ignore the fact that it's only at 16 miles. Well, that's important because at 16 miles, we should be able to repeat it, get the same level of results, and we'd be on your side. But we all realize that at 16 miles, whatever Soundly's showing, it ain't the curve of the Earth. So you guys want to believe what you want to believe. It's embarrassing to think that you guys deny perspective for this long when we've droned on about it and on about it and on about it and on about it, but it's still true. You guys ignore perspective. You can't do other math. It's just embarrassing. Now we know what your trick is. You should be all ashamed, all of you.
Meanwhile,
I don't think we're using a trick.
Hey, Wiggles.
Hello.
Meanwhile,
What was that, Wiggles?
Isle of Man at 80 miles plus.
What was the word trick out your mouth then, Wiggles?
There's no trick. It's just simple geometry of.
Yeah, geometry includes perspective from the observer. Why do you deny that? You did that when you came in with your maths bullshit that you didn't show. Do you remember?
That's the problem. It's only the geometry.
You see,
I
these
don't see how
residential.
perspective. I don't see what you're talking about. Perspective. That doesn't. I'm not understanding what you're talking about.
We're aiming this at you, Wiggles. You don't understand, but you tell everyone that we live on a ball. Why do you do that when you don't understand perspective?
What do you mean by perspective?
Things get
smaller into
smaller as
the
they go
distance.
further from you, you moron.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
a
yes.
very real fact of
Well,
life.
they look smaller, but they stay the same size.
Yeah,
but from
no,
the
they don't.
observer.
No, they don't, Wiggles. That's what your calculator does. It maintains its actual size to ignore the angular size change that occurs at distance. That's our point. Do you want me to repeat it? That was as concise as I can make it.
Well, things stay the same size. They just look smaller when you get
Right.
farther away.
Yeah, right. That's our point, and you don't account for that. So things looking smaller is ignored when you keep the actual sizes the same at any distance. That's what your geometry-only calculator does. Ignores perspective, which is real.
Well, I can show my calculator, but I don't think you need to take that into account.
Okay, let me just point out for the audience's sake. Wiggles, a globehead, has just pointed out and conceded that he doesn't think it's necessary to account for perspective. We know your calculator does not account for perspective, and let me tell you this, Wiggles. It is absolutely necessary because it is encountered with every single photo that you will ever analyse ever. Okay?
I want to know why he doesn't think it needs to be addressed.
Because it's not in his calculator.
Like, I can show the geometry. Like, I can show how I'm
We've just said
calculating.
it twice. It's a geometry-only calculator that doesn't include perspective, Wiggles.
So can you show an example of how you would take perspective into a calculation?
Yes, no problem. It's on screen right now. Everything in this image includes perspective, Wiggles. Hello, Cindy Wad. Hello?
I mean, like, can you go through the math of how you're
Why? It's
accounting
just
for-
on screen. It's accounted for in the pictures and not in your maths when you make your assertions. We don't need to do anything mathematically. It is in the picture and is ignored by your maths, Wiggles. Can I get a
Which
hello
picture
from
are
our
you
new
talking
guest?
about?
Can I get a new hello?
Season what? Please speak up.
Hello. Bye-bye.
Yeah, sorry, we're going to have to kick you, I'm afraid. You might have been with somebody from that guy with the makeup and the eyeliner. Not Sean Hufford, the other one, Hith.
I'm glad you've come, Wiggles, because you're now defending the necessity to include perspective, and as I've just pointed out, using a random picture on screen, it does include perspective. Your calculator only does geometry.
Well, can you explain why you need to, like,
Yes,
because
I
all
can.
a calculator
Yes,
does is it
yes,
tells
I
you,
can.
like,
Yes, because it is included in every single photograph ever taken ever. That's why. Never included in any of your calculations, though. Hello, the great object.
Click cancel.
Quick. Let's get this troll out. There we go. So yes, it's included, or should be included in your calculations when you beg the question, assume the Earth is a sphere, and tell people what they should or shouldn't see, because it's what's included in the photography that you're analysing. But you don't.
And it seems that you don't think that you need to. Are you a moron?
Well, all you need to do is given the distance away that something is across the surface of the Earth and the height that you're looking at it from, you can calculate how much is going to be obstructed by the curve of the Earth.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the geometry.
Well,
This is the third time I've said it to you, Wiggles. That would be the geometry only.
Correct.
So how are you proposing that you use this perspective thing in your calculation?
We
I
don't
see that.
need to calculate anything. You, the globehead who said I can have a look at your calculator, you tell us that we should calculate something because you think you live on a sphere. So you calculate out what we should see. I just see it and know instinctively that it does include perspective. You completely ignore that and only calculate the geometry using whole numbers that exclude perspective. That's wrong, because we do see perspective in every single photograph. I think that's the fourth time I've explained it to you, Wiggles.
I still don't. You're not convincing me that you need to account for any sort of perspective thing.
Well, then you're a complete idiot. Because perspective is real and it is encountered every single time you open your eyes or photograph anything ever.
Wiggles, do you agree that things appear to get smaller from the observer as they go further away?
They do, yeah. Well,
Right, good. Because that doesn't get accounted for in your stupid calculator that you want to show us.
That needs to be addressed, Wiggles. Why don't you do it? Why didn't you do it with the last time you came in? Do you remember? If you get your maths up, let's get your maths on screen and that spreadsheet. Let's see that bit where you don't account for perspective.
We already know, Anthony, we've done this. We know
No,
it
but the
doesn't account
audience
for
that's watching
perspective.
might not.
I don't need him to concede that it doesn't. He's trying to defend that it's necessary. This guy's a complete bonehead. He thinks he should defend
There's no
the
need for
total
words
exclusion of perspective from his calculation, like that's in some way justified to only do half the maths. This was Adam Meakin's point. They only want to do the geometry because excluding perspective is where they get their curve from.
Correct.
how are you going to use?
Why
the
do you keep
perspective
asking me
in the
questions?
calculation?
Why do you keep asking us, calculation boy? Why are you asking us this? You're the one with the
'Cause
calculator.
You're saying that you need to do some sort of perspective.
No,
thing
you
with the
don't
calculation.
need to do anything. That's not what I'm saying. You're misrepresenting what I'm saying. I don't need to do anything. I just look at this picture and that's it. I see the stuff in it and I understand implicitly that as things get further away, they get smaller. I don't need to explain anything mathematically. You, on the other hand, bring a model with you. Hey, Andy.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
are
can you hear me,
asserting
yeah?
things mathematically. Andy, hello.
Yep. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, good to have you.
Hello. Just a quick question. You said the globe heads need to include perspective into their calculation.
No, you don't need to make a calculation at all. You do it because you're religious zealots and want to assert what the world is to other people. So we don't need to calculate anything. When we see the Isle of Man at 80 miles, I can just go Isle of Man at 80 miles. No explanation whatsoever is required. Based on the fact that I'm a flat earther and understand implicitly that the Earth's observably flat. That's what I do as a flat earther. This guy will bring his mathematics and model, complicated though they are, to assert that we should or shouldn't see things. Well, that's nonsense. We don't need models. Don't need to be told what we should or shouldn't see. I just see it. I don't have to explain it because I live on a flat Earth. These guys who think they live on a sphere Earth need to tell us with a model what we should or shouldn't see. And then simultaneously, after this will be the 5th time of explaining it to Wiggles, you ignore perspective in your calculations. They still think that they need to show us the calculations.
Okay, Nathan, can I ask you a question? Hello? Nathan, can I ask you a question?
You are asking me a question.
Okay, so how would, on my screen now, I've got like a picture of a boat sailing away. How would you explain why you can't see the bottom of the boat as it
Because it
sails
goes
away?
into a limited angle.
I mean, clearly the ocean is blocking.
Did you hear what I
the
just
ship.
said? You didn't acknowledge it.
You said what?
It's in the most limited angle of view. The bottom of it.
wouldn't you agree that the ocean is blocking the view of the ship?
So you are literally going to ignore what I've just said and then assert your globe belief. Right. Okay.
Exactly
What you're saying doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
with that,
Yeah, it does.
I'll say first and
No, it
foremost
doesn't.
a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in. Oh, my kid's going to definitely join in with this outro. Come on then. Come on, sausage. Huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, then smash the dislike button, then smash it again. If you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!